Good morning, beautiful people of the Center for Spiritual Living. It's that time of year. And as a way of introducing that time of year to our guests and people who are new to our center, the way we do things here when it comes to our contribution is instead of talking about contribution all year long, we take one time in the year to gather our intentions together. We ask each other, what is your very best estimate for how much you're going to give the center in the next calendar year, January to December 2014. We write that down on a piece of paper and we use that to plan. It's a very simple process. We make it so simple. We have an online giving form at www.cslsr.org, or you have a physical one in your bulletin today, which if you complete, you can drop off at the giving intention table. And whether you do it online or in a physical form, if you complete it before October 31st, you get a ticket to our gratitude event, which you can pick up today. Even if you did it online in advance, you can still go to the table. They've got your, it's like will call. They'll give you your ticket right there. And that's by what date? October 31st, noon, that's correct. And it's such a wonderful event. We've arranged to have the New Thought artist Kathy Zavada perform our gratitude event. Some of you will know her from Woman's Spirit. Others will know her from performing here. She's such a beautiful, inspired artist. You know, she makes you teary-eyed. She's just so beautiful in her singing. And we chose her because we thought her inspired music would be a fitting expression of gratitude for your commitment to contribution next year. Because we are of the opinion at the center that gratitude is as important as a spiritual practice as is the giving part. So we're very into saying thank you for your intention in advance. And our giving intention team, one of the things they did was to ask members and friends of the community to put together short 60-second videos explaining why the center means so much to them or how it's made an impact on their lives. And well, you've just got to see this one video of one of our young people. I'm going to play it for you in a second. And every time I play it, people ooh and ah so much that I know they need to see it a second time. So we've put it up on our website too, at www.cslsr.org, where you can go to the Giving Intention tab on the right-hand side. You'll find it's easy to find, and you can view it again. Along with other videos, for example, there's the one by our teenagers, and one teen in particular is saying that he can't imagine his life without what he learned at the center. A teenager. And our young adults, and the adult version is being created even as we speak. You know, adults are tardy in getting their material to us, but it's in process, But I will be showing you the first one today, and I wanted to let you know that the reason why I'm showing it to you is for this. The message that these children give is that that's our heritage, that's the legacy we're leaving. They're learning from this very early age that God is the life that they're living. And that's priceless. And that's what your giving is going to. Before we see the video, I also want to tell you that if you recall, I think it was earlier on this year, I can't remember which month, we studied giving as a spiritual practice. And I was saying how important it is to begin in a gentle way. If you've never had a regular giving practice, do something that feels good and easy that you can get into to feel the benefits of it. Because if you're too strict or too ambitious, often like New Year's resolutions, you give up. So I said to people, take $1, commit to giving $1 in the basket every single week or to whatever charity you give to. And several people have been writing to me, saying to me, I've been doing that and reporting the tremendous sense of connection they're feeling to their own solidness and to the community. And I've been saying to them, I want you to take it the next step now. I want you to take it further. I want you to write down that intention on an intention card. And then I want you to take a further step. I want you to own it. I want you to lean into it and write your name on an envelope and with that $1 so that you can be counted on. Oh, we're working through this, a whole bunch of us, because, it brings up stuff. It's wonderful stuff. And then it occurred to me, why should first-time givers be the only one to stretch? What about those of us who are the pillars of the community or who have been giving for some time? Well, I'm going to do this. Why not have a modest increase as well? If you're accustomed to giving $30 a week, why not give $31.23 a week for this year? And I'll tell you why. Because we have a goal at the Giving Intention team to increase the number of people who are participating in this program because of the tremendous benefits that you experience personally from it. Last year we received 827 forms. Well, a modest increase, let's say 870. I invite you to hold that vision that we can accomplish that we can all participate and be good stewards. There's another reason. It's because we've got a couple of things we'd like to do for our center. For example, we'd like to paint the exterior. It's been 15 years. And our chairs, they've held us up for 15 years and they've done a fabulous job, but they are starting to show the signs of wear and tear. And our aging HVAC systems, they have to be replaced on a schedule, so some of them are coming due. They've done very, very well. Things like that are calling for our attention. But even more than that, for you to participate as a way of identifying with and knowing that you are giving to the legacy that is articulated by the voices of these young children. So here's the video. Now just say a prayer to any appropriate deity that it works. Yeah, it was funny.
We say, God is joy, I am joy. God is love, I am love. God is beauty, I am beauty. God lives in your heart. Where God stretches, and it goes into your arm, and your arm, and your other arm, and your hands, and it makes you sweat. It's with you wherever you go. If you get scared, you can talk to God in your heart. And that's what you do.
As you heard this morning, we're beginning a new focus as we do every month. This month, our focus is creative expression as a spiritual practice. And I brought some points along to make sure that I stay on task. So let's review those points. The first of which is, won't you say it with me? Being creative isn't optional. We can have the offering now. Right? That's the whole message. The next is this. Together, the great Creator lives within each of us and we in it. And the next one is this. And if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. Indeed, if you don't bring forth what is in you, that great creative power, you get into trouble. Next. Creativity is medicine, and the more we use it, the better we get at using it, and the better we feel. The next one. When spiritual practices get stuck or you feel cranky, try making something in order to release what is in you, because when it comes out, it has a way of making the crooked straight. Next. Shift your perspective regularly to notice and pay attention to the amazing, beautiful, natural-born creative energy that is in you. So now, though, we got to get going. We've got a lot to cover. And we are using Julia Cameron's book. She's the artist of The Author's Way, and this is the follow-up book, Walking in This World. And it appears to be a manual for artists until you start reading it. And you realize very quickly it's a manual for spiritual living, no matter whether you've painted ever in your life or you don't know anything about the arts. It's about life. It really, really is. And that's where I got the idea from one of those points. Creativity is medicine for our world at a time when it really appears to need it. But before we get to the medicine of creativity, we must address this idea or this misconception that some people are not creative. You might even be one of those people who've heard that word come out, I'm not creative. So let us see how she addresses it, and I invite you to read it with me. We are all artists. Some of us are declared, accomplished, and publicly esteemed artists. Others of us are the private kind, making artful homes and artful lives, and shying away from the public practice or pursuit of our art. Now, for the next sentence, you need to make sky quotes, okay? Okay. Some of us, officially not artists, and without a creative bone in our body, are artists nonetheless, because creativity is in our blood, our DNA. Now that matches the message at the Center for Spiritual Living that says we live and move and have our being within the mind of the creative genius from which everything flows. That's right. We exist within the mind of the creative genius. In fact, when we are thinking, where do you think we are thinking? We are thinking inside of the mind of the creative genius. In fact, we are made from creation. You see, we take creation to be a given because we appear to be here. So we assume we are of it. And because there were no other building blocks in the beginning to build from. We are made from it, and so it's not a question of whether or not we are creative, it's what we do with it. We're just studying that right now in class in Self-Mastery. We're looking at the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it says it's a given you are creative. With your word, the way you speak is creative, but you can use that for good or for bad, for health or for harm, for a blessing or for a curse. There's some freedom. It's the same with your creative energy. It's not that you don't have it. It's what do you do with it? Very interesting section in this book by Julia Cameron. She says, sometimes what makes us feel crazy and frustrated and irritated and out of sorts is exactly because we're not letting our creativity out. And it's not because we are broken or crazy, because the whole world is trying to fix us. It's just that we feel crazy and broken because there is so much amazing power in us that wants to be let out. Right? I know. Listen to this story in here of Sarah. Maybe it's your story. It could be. Sarah, a book writer now, was known to family and friends for many years as high-strung, nervous, nutty, even crazy. She had too much energy, and it spilled out in making drama out of daily life. She was always in a pitched battle with something. Everything she experienced seemed to be heightened and adversarial. She wasn't precisely depressed, but she did tend to view life in adversarial terms. She moved from therapist to therapist, antidepressant to antidepressant, and quick fix enthusiasm to quick fix enthusiasm. She tried meditation, energy work, self-help gurus. All helped, sort of. Nothing seemed to really make her more comfortable in her skin or in the world that we live in. At long last, Sarah began to work with creativity tools, and she actually used some of the tools that Julia Cameron teaches, and you can read up about those or use other creativity tools. And her mood lightened, her energy steadied, and her optimism, it did not so much return as it made its first appearance on the stage of her adult life. Creative projects of all stripe began to sprout wings in Sarah's household. She and her children made masks for Halloween, cookies, and cut out snowflakes for Christmas. And by New Year's, she had a resolution to try writing the book she had always dreamed of. Carving out a wedge of time for herself during her kids' after-school playtime, Sarah began writing, and her children fielded the calls. Mom's writing now. And she was writing not only her book, but about the distorted dramatics her life had undergone when she was channeling all of her creative energy into the drama. Sarah's tendency with personal drama settled down. Self-expression began to heal her character issues that years of therapy had not touched. At this writing, Sarah has written 5 books and published 4 of them. She is not crazy anymore, but she is crazy about her work, as she has found a way to channel and express her colorful inner self. Her life took on a gentler and yet more vibrant shape, and her dreams took on a technicolor clarity. It's a good story. See, I know that story. I read about it also in the Gnostic Gospels of Thomas. Apparently, this is attributed to Jesus. Won't you read it with me? If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. See, God within as creativity. When I try to suppress it and keep it and fit in, icky. You know, I used to have a counseling practice long time ago, and I'd sit with people, and oftentimes they would come to me stuck and directionless or struggling with an addiction, and we would sit and talk, and in the conversations, I would be able to detect in between all of their story about themselves, sometimes these were people with massive creative energy, immense personal expressiveness, wonderfully unique. And the problem was they just had no interesting, engaging place to let it out. That's often what we would discover. And if they could find that place, that some place, they would start to experience that adjusting that the story of Sarah tells about. You know, sometimes, and it didn't have to be painting the Mona Lisa. It just had to be interesting to them, not to the rest of the world, to them. And sometimes it was just simply in exploring the question, do you have a hobby? That we would find that their interest was not being allowed. It wasn't being fed. She writes in the book, when we lose interest in ourselves and in our lives, when we tell ourselves our dreams don't matter or that they are impossible, we are denying our own spiritual heritage. When we do this, that's when we become drained and depressed, she says, possibly even physically ill. We call ourselves neurotic. That is not the case. We are not neurotic. We are miserable. Miserable because we have stifled our own creative selves, and those selves are alive and well and too large for the cage we've put them in, the cage called normal. Isn't normal an interesting word? Such an interesting word to make sense of in a world in which every single one of us is completely different from the other. You can go crazy trying to figure that out. It's an impossibility to be normal. But there's so much cultural pressure to be normal. It's the hiding of our true selves that causes craziness. We are from creation, unique, and we must create in a unique way. We can't help it. And spiritual living is a celebration of our not normalness. I remember being a child. When I was a child, I was a very interesting child. There was not a more flamboyant kid on the planet. Very talkative, daydreamer, very expressive, awestruck, amazed, in love with creation. I didn't know what to do with it all. But it drove people crazy. And I remember once a friend, a slightly older friend, was so just frustrated. He just said to me, "You are not normal." And you know, it hurt at the time because I wanted to fit in. And there was such pressure to fit in. I started to trim the edges, and now if I could just have sped forward to this moment in time, I would have realized that is the greatest compliment on the planet. And if I had had the wherewithal, I would have said to him, "Thank you. You noticed." See, spiritual living is about noticing. There's nothing normal going on here. And spiritual living is about developing a genuine, innocent, sincere interest in what is in and bringing it forth. And practicing creativity is a way of bringing it forth. See, spiritual living is not about coping. It's not even about fixing. It's about celebrating the immense, crazy, abnormal, wonderful something in you that is inexhaustible and continues to do what has never, ever been done before every time you breathe, every time you think. It's celebrating that, not making excuses for it. She says, won't you read it with me? Creativity is medicine. It is not dangerous or egotistical. It is life-affirming and essential. The more we use it, the more steadily and readily and easily we use it. The more we ground it and regularly access it, the better off we are, the healthier we are. So she gives us assignments for how we can begin to practice, and one of them is so simple. It goes like this. Make something. It's that simple. Now, don't worry about it being art. Yeah, just let it be an expression of your aliveness. Don't be thinking of our art show. Let it be a non-art form. Nobody ever has to see it or like it or understand it or appreciate it or consume it. It's not for that. It's just for the practice of expressing, Do something you've never done before. Like if you've never baked before, bake something. I used to bake. I used to bake bread. I love doing it because there's something so wonderful about following a recipe and having a result at the end. I wasn't very good at it. I can say in all of the time that I baked, I never really baked a single successful loaf of bread. I could probably build a house with what I produced. But I didn't care because I loved it. I wasn't doing it for anybody else, because I knew it had something to do with the health of my soul to create. There's a great value and power in letting it come through. We are from creation, and we must create. It's advice for students of spirituality. When introspection and meditation fail, when prayer and selfless service and giving run dry, make something and see what it does. It is such normal, natural, beautiful power. And make something, not something that will fit into normal. It doesn't have to have a reason. Next thing you'll be saying, life has to have a reason. I'm going to write that down. That's good. It's just something that expresses what is in you, even if at first it is clumsy and ridiculous. It doesn't need to have a purpose. Oh, a good place to turn for exciting ideas is the booklet that we produced this month called Creativity, a Spiritual Practice. We gave it away on Wednesday evening, and it's filled up with examples of what to do to stimulate your creativity, one idea for every day of the month. And of course, you can download it for free on our website, or if you prefer a hard copy, you can pick it up. You can purchase it at the bookstore. But people who came on Wednesday have started, because the first exercise is for you to create a poem. So the idea is you go and get 10 of your favorite poems, and if you don't have favorite poems, go look them up on the internet. Then you gather them, and then you select randomly, like, let's say, the fourth line out of every poem. And then your job is to arrange them as best you can in a way that makes sense. And people, you know our people, because our people are posting it all over Facebook, because they're not normal, our people. And some of them are sending it to me, and there's just such joy as these poems come in. You can feel the creativity moving. You're wondering at the poems. Do I recognize the lines? What does it mean? And then the humorous juxtaposition of unrelated ideas. For what purpose? Because we have to. Because we get ill in our soul when we are not expressing creatively. And this book has got an idea for every single day of the month. And even if you don't want to do the exercises, there are creativity quotes at the top of every page that you can dwell upon and think about. Why make something? Before we get to this, because when we make something, we feel different about our place in the world. We see a different perspective. It opens up possibilities in us. And before I get to this, you know, the second exercise I read in the book that is so meaningful to me, she calls it bless your blessings. It's an exercise that will seem familiar to us because of that month. We spent that whole month on gratitude as a spiritual practice, as a way of opening up the flow of material in our life. But here she's adding on to it. She says the practice of blessing your blessings is a creative practice. Because as you bless your blessings, you are creating something in your own life. It's an active energy producer. And she says you want to do it to exercise your creativity, to let free in you what's always been in there. She says also that the idea of this blessing your blessings is that it helps us to focus less on what we are not and to focus more on what we are. To focus less on what is not present in our life and to focus more on what is, and to notice that in doing so, we are creating something. There's a spiritual law that describes that. It goes something like this: what you praise, you raise. That's what she's talking about. Now this slide, won't you read it with me? The great Creator lives within each of us. All of us contain a divine expressive part, a creative candle intended to light our path and that of our fellows. We are shiny, not tarnished, large, not small, beautiful, not damaged, although we may be ignorant of our grace, power, and dignity. And so the way home is to own your true nature. To own it and to not succumb to the cultural or religious messages of the world that say you are a worm or broken or originally sinful or crazy. Do not listen to those lies. Lies, all of them. You hear me? You will be creative. That's not my rule. I'm just telling what is. Let's check if I got all the points together. Being creative isn't optional. Number 2. The great Creator lives within each of us and we in it. Praise God. Number 3. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. Hallelujah. Next, creativity is medicine, and the more we use it, the better we get at using it. Next, when spiritual practices get stuck or you feel cranky, try making something. We're going to produce all kinds of things this week, I can tell. Next, shift your perspective regularly to notice and pay attention to the amazing, beautiful, natural-born energy that is in you. Ah, what a relief. Please turn to somebody and say, "You're not normal." Yeah, what a blessing. So did you remember to say thank you? All right, let us pray while we're high. I invite you to breathe in and exhale as we relax into the truth of who we are, free from all the chains of the past, of concepts that no longer serve. We turn resolutely to that one truth, that the original artist of the universe is in the same state as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, present, alive, and well, and we dwell in it. We allow ourselves to rest in it, to remember this is our home, this is our heritage, this is our nature, to create. And we remember this at a time in our world when it seems there is such opportunity to remember possibility thinking, collaboration, harmony, and creativity. This is no time for us to forget the truth of our being. So we remember together to never give up, to raise our vision, our spiritual vision, to the truth of our being, to never be persuaded or disoriented or hypnotized, no matter how the roar of the sound of the consciousness of the group around us is. We stay resolutely on the path of truth, remembering that we are cause, that we are using creative mind, that we have the power to declare into being simply by the process of our creative thought. So together, with awe and wonder, with trust and humility, we think for our country, health, wellness, harmony, collaboration, and trusting with faith in the spiritual laws that govern the universe. We remember that all comes to pass not by any effort of will, but through the spiritual laws that govern the universe, the Holy Spirit. So we trust it and we let it be. And together we say, and so it is.